All right, Kurt. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you today because you've done something in your career recently that I think, number one, takes a ton of courage. And number two, I think you have to be really bold in your beliefs about what you do to take the step that you've taken. So you've gone from a pretty steady sort of financial management, personal finance role at Oxygen to moving over and starting your own thing, Brucker Wealth, which is so awesome. So number one, how's that whole experience been pivoting over?
It's been a lot of fun, and on the outside looking in, the reality is that it doesn't make a ton of sense to most people. Like, I have a child; she's 18 months old. I have a wife that's staying at home, and so
How old was she when you started?
she was a year old.
I love that. Okay.
It's something that I had considered though for a few years, and so for me, it's my faith walk. My faith is everything, and it's the core crux of my company now. But the reality is, like, I had to get to a place where I just trusted the Lord, and I felt the Lord telling me, "Trust me, trust me." So I looked at different opportunities that were out there, and just never felt good about it. And always wanted to be an entrepreneur, wanted to go out and start my own business, and felt like the Lord said, "Trust me." And it's been a blast. Entrepreneurship, as you know, it's a bear, and it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
There's days where you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and there's days where
For
you're like
sure.
on top of the world. But that's the love about life, honestly. Like, there's no concern for me. It's just like continue to trek forward, and everything in life's about the long game. I think so many people are too short-sighted today. They're
Yeah.
looking for the short, easy way, right? Even
Yeah.
now, it's like weight loss. You can go get a shot, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know long term that works, right? And even
Yeah.
with like marriage and picking out your spouse, it's like a lot of guys get so infatuated with like how the woman looks today. Well, guess what? In 20 years, she's going to look totally different.
And so are you.
And the reality is, who can you be on that porch swing with at 80 years old? That's how
Yeah.
I do life. And so everything in life I do is with the vantage point that I want to play the long game.
I love
'Cause
that,
a lot of people
dude.
burn out, right? They do something for 4 years, they're super passionate, and they're like, all right, I want to jump to something else. I'm not saying that's bad. I just think that anything in life that's worth doing, you got to continue to move on it over time.
So on that point, so okay, so if you're interested in playing the long game, I know you've got an interesting philosophy on saving, right? And so as if I'm someone who's seeking out advice on financials and I want to call my financial advisor and I want to say, hey, how much do I need to save? I know you've got something you believe on saving versus giving. So what's that all about?
Yeah, and I think again it comes back to understanding this core fundamental truth that most people don't realize, which is that God truly owns it all. I mean, I think the stat I saw
Yeah.
was like only 20% of Christians truly believe that, right? So if I view
What?
it through the lens that God owns what He's blessed me with, then I have to steward that well. It's God's resources. It's not mine. It's what He's blessed me with.
Man.
And so from that perspective, from a heart posture standpoint, we are called to be fruitful and give, right? And so
Yeah.
a lot of people want to cut the nitty gritty and say, okay, well, what's my net? And then I'm going to give 10% after I, account for all these bills. And it's like, no, give the Lord the first of what He's blessed you with first.
Yeah, yeah.
And then save, right? But it all goes back to the reality, which is that you've got to spend less than you earn. We live in a society today where you can finance anything, right? And so people
Right.
get themselves in a bad position. What the core crux of it is, Connor, is you've got to sit down and you've got to look at things at a real reality and say, okay, what am I bringing in a month? What am I spending? And have some core discussion with yourself on there's probably things you should be cutting out, right? And you got to align that to the long term, whether that be your savings goals or your giving. But giving, to me, if you don't do that consistently and regularly first, it creates bondage with money. I mean, I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but when I've given large chunks of money that felt uncomfortable, man, there's like a huge weight off of me. And there's something to that. I truly believe that. And I know people that have given tens of thousands of dollars that they weren't really in a position to do that, but they felt the Lord call them to that. And man, it's unexplainable, but it's just God. It's explainable through God.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have any clients who aren't Christian?
I do.
Do you advise those clients to tithe?
I do. It's a challenging conversation. Obviously, the ones that are positioned through that worldview are more privy to understanding and taking that advice.
Right, right.
I certainly encourage it, and it's a huge piece to my firm and what I'm looking to build is like, hey, how do we go and maximize our giving, right? Like, part of my reality of what I want to build over the long term is I want to help people manage their wealth well so they can actually give more for kingdom purposes,
Wow.
right? So if we increase and grow more, then there's more to be given to the kingdom. And so it's more of a tactical, challenging conversation, right?
yeah.
They're not as receptive to that. But if you show them, hey, there's a way for you to meet your goals, right, that you have, but also give here. And a lot of people, even if they're not Christian, they still want to give. Most people have a good soul, and they're like, I want to give to my local charity or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're open to that. I think what it comes from is anxiety, right? Anxiety of, I'm not going to meet my goals, so I've got to hold it. I've got to hold this tight, right? And the reality is, if we just surrender it, we got to have real conversation around like what's real and what's not, right? Like, if I don't bring in X amount of money, I can't give all that away, right?
Right.
I mean, we have to stay within the reality of the confines we're in currently, but there has to be a conversation around that.
So question of the day, is tithing a gross or net thing to you?
Do you think God deserves your net or your gross?
It's the question of the day.
You tell me.
You know, I personally, whether this is right or wrong, I personally tithe off of what hits my bank account.
Yeah. And I think
I don't tithe off of what doesn't hit my bank account, because give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to the Lord what is the Lord's.
Correct.
So I never saw any of that money.
Yeah.
It didn't. The first fruits are what hits my bank account to me. That's my personal opinion.
And I think that that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I think everyone has to search their heart and spend time with God on that. I think that if it becomes a question where you're wondering, should I be giving gross? Should I be giving net? You should really question your heart on that, right? Because if you're having that debate in your mind, the truth is you probably should be giving gross, right? Like, you shouldn't shortchange God. And that is my perspective. If you're not thinking about that and it's just like you're giving, like you said, these are the first fruits that come in, great. Give your 10 or give 20, right? Like,
right.
I think that 10's a noble figure to be at or work toward, but I think you should be abundant in your giving, right? And it doesn't have to be in that box, right? Because there's people that are only given 10 that should be given more like 20 to 30 or more.
I love
and there's
it.
people that can only give 5 that are given 10.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
Like, I mean, even in the season I'm in right now where I'm starting a business, it's like, I just did some tithe at the end of the year, right? And it wasn't comfortable because it's like, I'm working to provide for my family, but the reality is like, it's the Lord's. It's His resources. He's blessed me so far with the clients that I have, and I'm grateful for that. And I just need to continue to pay it to Him and just trust Him.
I do think there's an interesting thing on 1099 employees versus W-2 employees, because W-2 is already taken out. The taxes are already done. So your first fruits might actually be what hits your direct deposit. Yeah. But a 1099 employee like y'all two, it might be something where, hey, this is my
correct.
This came to me first, and I have to later take the taxes
Well, let
out.
me go to a point that I think is important, right? So if we think about this, if there's a pie chart, now I actually did a recent video on this, but there's only 5 places your money can go. You know what they are? You use it for living expenses. So all your living expenses, fixed, variable, whatever, you can give it away. You can owe it in the form of taxes, which you just mentioned, debt, or you can grow it.
So say those again. So
live, give, owe debt, owe taxes, or grow it, like invest it. Only 5 places your money can go.
Where's savings?
Grow. So there's only 5 places that your money can go, right? So to your point, right, if I look at your pie chart, it's representative of how you view your life, and it should truly align with how you look at God. Because if you look at your pie chart and you say, man, that giving bucket's looking a little weak, right? Because we're including taxes in this, right?
Right.
Well, maybe you should bump up your giving, right? Maybe to improve that, maybe it's not 10%, but maybe it's 15% potentially, right? And so if you look at your pie chart, it really shows a lot about what you value. Because every spending decision you make is truly a spiritual decision.
100%. That's so fascinating. So do you have any stories or things where you've helped a client advise and say, hey, based on these buckets, you're overly, you're spending way too much money on something you shouldn't? How do you course correct them and get them back on the right path?
It's certainly it's not an easy conversation, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is you have to be able to have the hard conversations. I mean, that's really why someone hires an advisor like me. Is to have those hard, blunt, real life conversations. And so it's really truly looking at it through the lens of like, what are my needs and what are my actual toys? We all have toys. I have toys, right? But if those toys are getting in the way of allowing us to truly be good stewards of what we've been blessed with, then we need to take a cold, hard look at that and say, should I actually remove this from my life? Because this doesn't really go with what I want.
Man, that's so good. I love that you have a very Holy Spirit conviction about how you approach your clients. And the fact that you're helping them course correct on their finances is so glorifying to the Lord. And I just think that's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, the Lord's blessed me with this business. It's not easy, right? And nothing is, but it's all a blessing. And I think, for most people, honestly, it's just sitting down
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a distraction society. Trust me, I get it.
Right.
It's so easy to just distract ourselves, right? Instead of facing the hard truths or hard decisions we have to make each day. So like actually here we're in the new year, sit down, look at, okay, what did I do last year? Where did I
Right.
spend? What did I bring in? Look at your pie chart I just mentioned. Build that pie chart. What does that look like?
Right.
If that's not in alignment with where you want, then make some changes. And a lot of people feel stuck. And maybe you are stuck, but maybe you're not truly stuck. You just got to do some hard things. And we know hard things aren't easy, but they're always worth it.
For sure. So the role of a financial manager, is my last question for you. The role of a financial manager oftentimes is prepping for the future, right? 30, 40 years from now, when you're retired, when you're not working, we want you to be set then.
Yes.
But like, as someone who wants to kind of have fun now, where do you land on that?
Well, it's
you
a
know?
balance, right? Because we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
So we need to be strategic and plan for tomorrow because we need to be good stewards of the resource that we've been blessed with. But the reality is we don't know that tomorrow comes. I mean, my mom passed away 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And that really changed my perspective on a lot of things because traditional finance speak of people that are smart savers or good investors is put as much as you can away for the future. That's fine, right? I mean, but the reality is I've seen the opposite happen, which is you do that and people would glorify that and say, man, you're doing a great job. You got multiple millions of dollars in your 401ks and you're doing really good. But guess what? That guy gets cancer and he's gone 6 months after retirement. He waited his whole life to enjoy things, right? And so that's where it goes back to the drawing board. And the crux of it is say, okay, again, it's what comes in, what's going out, and how do I have the margin to allocate to certain things, right? So maybe that's in the short run, I want to buy a house, or maybe it's I want to take this vacation. Having buckets specifically targeted for each of those goals is a key to me. And automation is the other piece, right? So, you know, again, you don't want to use too much of your bandwidth because there's always things to do. But like if you just automate, you can automate your giving.
Right.
We could talk about whether the heart posture, but it's still better than doing nothing, right? But like to ease your life is to automate giving, savings, and even have multiple savings accounts. So you have those goals and figuring out what do I need to do to meet my long-term goals? So retirement is a good one that most people are shooting for, or debt-free.
Yeah.
Versus also what do I want to do right now or the next couple of years, and plan accordingly and balance that. And a big piece of that, Connor, I'll tell you, is a brokerage account.
Yeah.
Most people always talk about 401k. I get it. I'm not down playing a 401k. I think it's great. But the brokerage account is severely underrated.
Yeah.
Severely underrated. Like I would not be able to do what I'm able to do by starting this business if I didn't leverage a brokerage account.
Oh, wow.
If I would have funded it all into 401k, I wouldn't be in the position to be able to really do it without incurring a bunch of penalties and stuff.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Great conversation. Glad you're here, brother.
Yeah.